I don't worship my ancestors. I talk to them. Peace and blessings. This is Derric RauKhu. I know it's been a minute since your boy went ahead and has done a video. Just want to let you know, if you saw the last video that I made, I was mentioning, got COVID from my 4-year-old. And since then, family's been doing better and everything. But the thing with this COVID thing, it kind of sticks around. Like like I mentioned in the last video, it basically, it was like a annoying little itch that just stayed in my throat. For the most part, it was like right after I had that, I ended up having a sinus infection, and I'm just not able to get my voice back, okay? Because last week I couldn't talk. I was almost whispering because of me coughing so much, trying to, get up all that junk. So, but like I said, I'm doing better. Family's doing better and everything. Those of you who went ahead, you was wishing me, good thoughts, prayers, and lighting candles for us. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. But I wanted to go ahead and I wanted to talk about the fact that, there's two different approaches that I've come across whenever we're dealing with ancestors. You'll see a lot of people, now, I've mentioned this before, a lot of people, the whole thing regarding ancestor veneration, ancestor honoring, it's like the hot trend. Okay, everybody is all into it. And I mean, for good reasons. There's a lot of benefits into it. So I'm not knocking anybody for going ahead and being involved in it. But the thing is, you gotta watch out for these other people, some of these people who are, who are bandwagoners, who are on it, and they're trying to go ahead and just make a quick buck out of it, okay? Because they're basically just go up there and they're just promoting something because, hey, guess what? This is a hot thing, so let's promote it, okay? And they do this a lot of times in North America. Well, let me rephrase that. I would say Western culture, period. They seem to do that, okay? Remember, if you go back and look at history, everybody, the entire society was all into the whole, Hindu thing, and then everybody was into feng shui, and everybody was, and they keep doing this kind of stuff. So that's why I'm saying, watch out for that, okay? Now, that being said, one of the things, like I said before, there's two different approaches that when it comes to dealing with ancestors that a lot of people are dealing with. You got one approach in which people go ahead and they worship their ancestors, okay? And then there's another approach where people venerate their ancestors, right? Now, I don't worship my ancestors, right? And and to be honest with you, when I first started working with ancestors, built the ancestor altar and all that kind of stuff, I did worship them, okay? Would pray to them religiously and, not so much beg them, but it was almost, maybe one or two steps below begging them for, hey, can you go ahead, help me with this, help me with that, please help me with this and that and the other. And it wasn't until, like I said, I met my mentor again, met Papa. And after I met Papa and actually started getting into, and, went through the whole, like I told you before, the whole, the hospitalization and all that. I'm not going to even go through that. So we already talked about that. But after I went ahead and I went through all that, and I actually started coming into my own. And I went ahead and, came into my own, was dealing with my ancestors, okay? Dealing with my guides, not following what other people are telling me to do, but actually in tune with my ancestors and my guides, all right? Once I did that and made the connection, there was this one book. let me tell you about this one. There's this one book that I came across, and this is how I realized, and I went ahead and was like, this is a Congo thing, okay? And I came across this book right here. This is Death and the Invisible Powers by Simon Baki, okay? The World of Congo Belief, okay? When I went ahead, I came across this book. I mean, you can see, I went ahead and, you can see I was highlighting it and everything, because this deals with, it talks about Congo belief, okay? And the one thing about it is that it talks about Congo belief. It doesn't talk about the entire Congo region, okay? The entire Congo-Angolan region. It talks specifically, he's writing specifically about, certain areas where where he grew up in and all that kind of stuff. All right, if I remember correctly. And remember, I told you this before, and I had people who was, disputing me. And I was trying to tell people, I know there was some, I had some followers who were of the Congo tradition, Palomayambe, and I knew, and I was like, they was like, oh no, this is not how you do it, this is not what's going on. And I kept trying to say, over here in North America, it was the Congo spirituality, it didn't evolve the way it did over there in Cuba and in in Brazil. It didn't evolve that way, okay? But it did survive, all right? There's remnants, little small remnants that survive, all right? And the reason why it's kind of hard to actually put a finger on it and say this is Congo, this is not Congo, or whatever the case is because most scholars do not focus on the Congo tradition. They don't focus on the Congo religion. Now, I don't know why they don't do it, but every time they talk about anything regarding African American spirituality, you always find these people, they want to go to Benin, they want to go to the Yoruba, and I think really it's because of not to take anything away from those, from those parts, because they're also part of us as well, but not to take anything away from those cultures. But I think it's really a lot of scholars do that because they're just lazy, from one, or because there's not a whole lot of, there's not a whole lot of Congo resources in regards to the old ways that basically survived. There was things that were written, but it's not like you can go there like you can now, like go to Nigeria and say you can, and find a Yoruba priest. It's not like you can do that all over the Congo, okay? You can do it because from my understanding, they do have some priests, priestesses that still exist, that still are in the Congo region. But it's not as widespread as it was, as the, like I said, the Yoruba, or, Benin, any of those other areas, okay? Now, the thing you have to remember, and this is why, I've stated this as well, the thing you have to remember is that Congo spirituality is different from all the other African religions, all right? And the main difference, one of the main differences between Congo spirituality and all the other African religions is that Congo spirituality, they didn't have a pantheon of divinities, okay? So if you studied the Yoruba faith, you know that the Yoruba, they have the Orisha. There's there's at least, 7 Orisha that everybody's familiar with. But I think there's like a total of almost like maybe, I think it's like 301. I'm not sure, okay? But there's numerous Orishas that exist. Same thing if you went ahead, you learned, if you read or you studied anything about the Khan religion, if you studied anything about, the Voodoo, the Omi religion, there's numerous divinities, okay? Numerous divinities, numerous, voodoo, numerous adoson, numerous, like I said, orisha, all right? Was it the same thing in Congo spirituality, okay? In Congo spirituality, you had Nzambi Mpugu, who is the supreme being, all right? Under the supreme being, 4 types of spirits, that's it, okay? And like I said, I've been meaning to tell you about this, but this is a book I went ahead and from an actual person from the Congo, this is one of the books I went ahead and it helped me to understand that. And it was confirmed, okay? Now, remember, I had I think I mentioned this before. I was dreaming about this. Before I even came across this book, and it wasn't until I actually came across this book, it was like confirmation, That's how I knew I had that ancestral connection. But anyway, in this book, there was a part that they talked about. I don't have my glasses. In this book, there's a section where they say, we don't worship the ancestors. We venerate the ancestors, okay? And it was once I went here and I read that and I thought about that, once I read that, it made sense, because I know I kept coming across sources when I first started dealing with my ancestors. I kept coming across sources that kept saying, oh, you have to, when you talk to your ancestors, you have to, state, I'm a sin creature and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, and I didn't feel right about that. All right. This basically was confirmation, the reason why I didn't feel right about it, because that wasn't my way. Now understand this. I'm not knocking anybody who does this. I'm not knocking anybody who prays to their ancestors and all that kind of stuff. You do so, okay, so be it, to each his own. I'm just stating that's not the Congo way, okay? At least that's not based upon what I've seen, based upon what I've witnessed and struggled with, okay? And now had it confirmed, that's not the Congo way, okay? Or at least, let me rephrase that. That's not the Congo way that survived here in North America, okay? So I just want to go ahead and I wanted to let you know that if you're going ahead and you're trying to connect with your ancestors and you're feeling funny about it, that might be the reason why, okay? Because you're approaching it from someone else's perspective, someone else's cultural perspective, when it's that Congo ancestry that's going through you, and they're like, that's not how we work this, okay? We don't talk to our ancestors. We don't worship our ancestors. We talk to them, okay? We sit down and we communicate with them. And speaking of that, speaking of the whole communication thing, speaking of talking to the ancestors, this is what made the connection, for me, this is what made the connection back to the Kemetic tradition, because it was like, hey, that's the correlation and that's the relationship that that RauKhu has with Osir. The exact relationship. He's talking and having a communication or having dialogue and conversation, with Osir. Okay? So, again, that's my revelation. All right? This is my connection. This is how I was able to make that connection. And I just, like I said, I just wanted to go ahead and share that with you. The other thing is, I did go ahead and I also found out that and I'm waiting to get it, but I saw there's a scholar who went ahead and wrote, and because remember I told you as well, during the Second Great Awakening, that's when a lot of the enslaved, or our enslaved ancestors here in North America, they went ahead and they converted to Christianity, and they converted, of course, to the main two religions or main two denominations, Baptist and Methodist, and part of the reason why they converted to those two was because of the whole baptism thing. But A lot of scholars are saying no, it's because they thought the baptism was going to go ahead and it was going to free them from slavery, this and that and the other. And I remember when I first started learning again, about spirits, about how Congo people were looking at spirits, I was like, that don't even make sense. Y'all missing something. Y'all that don't sound right. Okay, this is a little bit more deeper than that. And sure enough, like I said, I came across a scholar who went ahead and they had written, they did some research, and they was like, it was because there was water spirits in that baptism pool. That's the reason why they was converting over to Christianity like that. And they had to, or why baptism was so important. Okay? So, I'm just letting y'all know that, okay? Again, if you're feeling a little bit of fun, if you're feeling a little funny about it, and you're feeling a little disconnect, it might be your Congo, those Congo spirits, your Congo ancestry who is in the background like, okay, we ready to stand up, okay? So, like I said, I just wanted to go ahead and drop that line for you. Just go ahead and, give you a little heads up of what was going on. Again, if you got any comments, you got any, suggestions or whatever, feel free to drop me a line. Until next time, talk to you later. Hetepu. Peace.